Vanilla Unturned sucks for multiplayer. It is no surprise to see the multiplayer server list have almost a bunch of modded or edited versions of Unturned that you can play right now. And a lot of servers that don't exist is vanilla servers as opposed to other games like Rust, which have very vibrant vanilla scenes. Unturned doesn't have that. And I think I know the reason as to why. So what's holding back Unturned Vanilla? Well, in my opinion, I've boiled it down to two main things that are really holding back Vanilla from being actually enjoyable and a playable experience. And it comes down to two main concepts that exist with Unturned, and in my opinion, need to change. The first concept is skill loss. I ran a bit of the numbers on normal mode on a civilian skill set. Now, you could change the numbers of this with different skill sets. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to give you a generalization. But it takes 3,350 XP to max your skills on civilian. Now, on every single server, whenever you die, you will lose 25% of the actual experience that you have in your experience bar. But, how much XP do you think it takes to get back to maximum skill level after you die one time? If you guessed more than half of your XP, then you're correct. It takes 1,715 XP to get back to max skill level after you die one time. That is 51% of the XP you need to max out your skills needed to go back after you die one time. To give you a more kind of like idea of how much XP that is, that's 343 maple trees or military zombies, or 572 civilian zombies, or 43 mega zombies. That is ridiculous. And when it comes down to actually playing in multiplayer, and it comes from my own experience as well, whenever I get into interactions with other players, I'm no longer just worrying about the loot that I have on me and what I am to stand to gain from the other player. And instead, I have another kind of thing going on in the back of my mind, is when I die, do I really want to spend upwards to 20 to 40 minutes grinding XP to get back to my skill level that I had lost 40 minutes to 20 minutes prior? Because these skill levels are very changing the way you play so drastically. Either that being your walking speed, the amount of food that you need to eat, your reload time, your crafting. These are all things that you need as a survival player, and just dying one time in interactions that could take less than 5 seconds, it's drastic, and it doesn't make people want to fight one another, and instead it makes people want to act more skittish and kind of avoid conflict, which isn't a fun experience when you see another player, and instead of wanting to go ahead and try to, test your luck and trying to fight another player to potentially win an interaction, you're more so worried about the potential chance to lose more than half of your XP in skill level after one death, which I think is ridiculous. So, what would be my change to this problem? Well, in my opinion, I think that after you gain a skill level, you shouldn't lose it on death, and instead, the skill loss should be put onto just hard mode difficulty. Hard mode difficulty isn't seen a lot when it comes to Unturned. That's because the only real difference is how far away I believe zombies see you and zombie damage in general. And I think it would be interesting to move that concept to hard mode and maybe see more hard mode play because it's a little bit more difficult as opposed to easy and normal mode. But to get back to the point, I would like to see Unturned move away from having these massive amounts of times dedicated to just grinding back XP to be at a position that you were one death prior. Would be a nice step in the right direction. It would make Unturned more fun to play in vanilla, and would make interactions with Unturned players more common in vanilla as a whole. But in my opinion, there's something way worse holding back vanilla Unturned, and no one seems to really talk about it. If you were to buy gold in Unturned, you would get access to 4 more character slots in the character select screen. Now, these characters are not just for cosmetic use. They actually have different inventories in multiplayer. Now, The problem with these characters is that if you were to max out the amount of slots that each character has, you could have 130 slots on a character, meaning 130 charges, 65 rockets, etc., etc. Now, times that by 4, and you can probably see the problem with this already. What's the point of building an effective base when you could just alt character all your good loot? What's the point of raiding when you know that your enemy has alted all of their good loot? It's really bad. It de-incentivizes, in my opinion, some of the core aspects of multiplayer survival games, and just makes the overall experience not fun, and makes people want to go venture for greener pastures. Now, I'm not saying to remove the concept of being able to log off with loot as a whole. I'm just saying reduce it to one character. Because if you were to go down a path like Rust, when they have sleepers, I think in my opinion that incentivizes offlining. And incentivizing offlining, in my opinion, should not be something that a survival game really should strive for. You should be able to at least try to defend your base against an enemy, and the enemy should have an incentive to online you. And that incentive being that if you're online, you're most likely to have all your loot in your base. And when you log off, you most likely have logged off with all the good loot, meaning it's not good to raid. So, I think in my opinion, logging off what stuff is perfectly fine. But I think having 4 characters that hold 130 spaces each, and are able to hold basically all your valuables, and you don't have to worry about building a base, at all, is really bad for the game. And I think this is one of the major holdbacks for vanilla. Well, both of these in this case. But I would like to hear what you guys think of these two things. In my opinion, these are the two things that hold back vanilla now. I've played a lot of the edited, more modded stuff, and it's made me look back at vanilla with clearer glasses when it comes to what we need to improve on as a whole. And if there's other improvements, I know there's other improvements that people would mention, like vehicle physics need to be fixed. I do agree with that, and etc., etc. I would like to hear in the comments what you all believe would be better fixes than the two things I mentioned in this video. But I think these are the two fixes. I think if these two were to be tackled with, that vanilla might make a resurgence and might be, dare I say, fun again to play? I don't know. But thank you all for watching this video, and thank you all for listening. And again, please comment if you think that there's something more drastic that needs to be changed in Unturned. Again, this is just my thoughts on why vanilla Unturned sucks for multiplayer, but you might have different ideas. Goodbye!